Well, we're going to talk about Windows and how it really works and what's underneath. Okay. So, back in the day, we had DOS. Before DOS, MS-DOS. Microsoft is Microsoft DOS. Okay. That's a binary operating system. We would type binary code or type commands like clear, and then certain commands we would use list, delete, delete everything, so and or delete whatever it is we're working on, basically. And we just operated in the DOS world. We would log. You could run apps in DOS. They were primitive. They were more um, less graphical and less fancy. This 8-bit, 4-bit, whatever it is back then, and 16 colors. Yeah. So now they said in a couple of years that, hey, Windows. They might have Windows 1, Windows 2, Windows 3. Windows 3.1 is when everybody got really on it, and we had a graphical user interface. So you had DOS and you had Windows on top of it. Okay, so whatever you do in Windows, it'd be running in DOS. So it's running over the operating. So it's an operating system. Okay, because Microsoft, the DOS is an operating system too. So it's running on top. So that's the shell, is Windows. So the Windows 3.1 and all the way up the ladder, because you had Windows 3.1 and Windows for Workgroups for more for business, Windows NT. So if you worked in a business environment, you would have seen Windows NT. So, but and then after 10 and Windows NT, oh, you had Windows 2000 and 2000 Advanced Server. Yeah. So like I'm saying, so that's, and then from Advanced Server, which was really good. I like that. 2000 Advanced Server. Well, you're not really supposed to. Well, I worked in that environment because when I got into all this, um, it wasn't until Windows 3.1, Windows for Workgroups, NT, NT4. We use NT for business. NT is supposed to be on the server. That's server um, OS. So Microsoft had client OS, right? That's what you have right now. Is client OS. Okay. Then they had server OS, right? So they have two. Okay. So today they still have it. Let's have it on different different methodology. I don't want to get too technical, but that's basically it. So servers for servers. They had workstation too, workstation OS for the workstations. Because remember, you have a laptop, you have a desktop, you have a workstation, you have a server. So a lot of companies use workstations. They're more powerful than a desktop computer. But what I'm getting at, the way this whole thing works, your CPU as fast as you can get it, you know, in gigahertz. The CPU is still the 32-bit. When I started all this, they were using 4-bit, 4-bit, 8-bit. Then it went to 16-bit. Then it went to 32-bit. They're all 32-bit processors because all the software was basically 8-bit, and then they went to 32-bit. But a lot of software still today is 32-bit. That's the processor you got that you spent so much money for. They was able to tweak it to get a little more gigahertz out of it. To tweak it, it's still 32-bit, 64-bit because that's the way everything is. And then you have bottleneck with the memory and bottleneck with the graphical cards. Well, it's 256, but if the bus speed is only 64-bit, everything has to pipe through that. So 64 is like this, and then they expand it, and the card acts like it's really functional, but there's still drawbacks of it. The technology is really not there. They come up with better DDR5, DDR6. A lot of people have DDR1, DDR2, DDR3, DDR4 was very popular. 2 and 3 were popular. Then you have 5, 6, whatever they go up to now. Well, yeah. Well, this system here is, like I said, this is a 2012 system. Let me fix it. I learn. I'm a developer. Program under Windows. I made games under Windows. A lot of games, 67 games, and 20 utilities. I figured out a way to restore Windows 3.1, Windows NT, because they crash a lot. You usually get a blue screen of death, you used to call it. You still see that now and then. And they say dump. Those dump files, you want to get rid of them once the system boots back up. You don't want to keep them on your computer. So you would run Microsoft's PC Manager, which is very limited, or WiseCare. But a lot of you don't want to run Chinese-based software because you're afraid that it calls China. So that's the trouble with today's society. But this operating system, this is right now the CPU is right now it's running at 0.6%. You don't want to, if it's 100%, a lot of CPUs run 100%, and that's not good because then the system is going to run sluggish. You want a fast system. I have a lot of hard drives in here. Not hard drive, it's SSD. Everything's SSD, not hard drive. Your new laptops run they're based on SSD or NVEMC, what do you want to call it, or even BWIN. Yeah, that different name. Some the chip-based storage. So Windows runs on a swap file, so it swaps the memory because you can put as much RAM into the system, but you'll find out that it can't it can't it it'll always run out of RAM, or the way they do it is a buffering. So it's a certain buffer that's based on how much RAM you have in the system. So like this one here, it goes down to maybe, see, if you have 32 gigs of RAM, you're looking at 27. So 64 would be close to 32, 31. Okay, the higher is like that. So 128 gig if you need that much RAM, because it depends. Excel spreadsheet that can get really big, very hog. This is a 27-inch 4K monitor. Okay, quality is good on this one here, but these do go bad after this. Okay, so this system, even though it's 2012, the CPU is still supported, and might not get no drivers for it. So Microsoft has its own drivers. So it's a proprietary system, and everything just works together. If you have a Dell, HP, more proprietary, they use their own equipment and all that stuff. Some systems have 4 cores and 8 cores. So 4 cores on the CPU, 8 cores on the thread. It's supposed to run faster. But the whole thing I'm saying is this. This system is what we have. You have Linux, and you have um, Mac OS, iOS. You have Linux. They use Chrome OS or third-party OSs from Linux, and you have to know Linux. Well, because if I go command prompt, I go into DOS. That's what Linux is. Binary. You write the commands and the codes, you mount drives and all that. You could do the same thing with this, with PowerShell. So PowerShell is just like Linux, and it works the same thing. But a lot of people like Linux because they like to type it in manually and all that. But they have the graphical interfaces like Zion. Yeah, Zion. I was using Zion. Not using that anymore. There are a lot of bugs in that. Yeah. Well, it's buggy. I know they came out with new OS. I'm not gonna play around with it because it's a pain in the neck to run. We're better off doing all these things. But right now, this is what we have, and this is the way the system is. You keep it clean, run it cleaner to cleaner. You don't defrag the SSDs or memory. You clean the system. And the system has to be cleaned. There's no way. It's too much fragmented files, and it gets all clouded with this. And the same thing with the others too. They run into the same problem. Hey, if you find this useful, hit subscribe today. I'll see you later. Take care.